All right, well, welcome. This is Brian Hagan from Purposeful Foam Rolling. And really, our purpose here at Purposeful Foam Rolling is to teach you how to use self-care tools as foam rollings, foam balls, those type of things, so that you can take control of your self-care. And part of that process is to learn what the muscles in our bodies are doing, and then what happens when these muscles get tight, stiff, and sore. Because we do get tight, stiff, and sore as we live our lives. And when muscles get this way, they can create a lot of problems. So that's the purpose of this, is to help educate you a little bit about what are some of the problems these muscles can cause, and then what are some of the things that you can do about that. All right, so we're going to talk a little about another small muscle here that a lot of people don't know exists and can cause some very interesting problems. It can cause pain in the chest. It can cause pain in the arm. It can mimic the same pain patterns that a heart attack would develop. So we always want to say with caution here, if you are experiencing what we would consider to be some signs of a heart attack, obviously you want to have that checked out first. It's important to make sure that your heart is healthy before you start dealing with some other potential causes of that type of pain pattern. All right, so have that checked out first. So what is this muscle? So, well, with Mr. Manny here, it's this blue area right there, and this is pectoralis minor. I think a lot of people have heard of pectoralis major, the chest muscle. This one is minor, and it's underneath pectoralis major. And it is on both sides of our body, so I want to make sure I only have it marked on one, but it's on both sides. Where is the exact location of this muscle? Well, there's a little bone that sticks out from your shoulder blade. So we think of our shoulder blades are in the back, but our shoulder blade actually has a bony part that points out or sticks out toward the front. It's underneath all of this, the clavicle and all that type of stuff. But this muscle attaches onto that bony spot from the shoulder blade. So it's actually connected to the shoulder blade, which will be important when we're talking about what happens when this muscle gets tight. It's going to impact the shoulder blade for sure. All right. Then it runs off of that and attaches to the top parts of the third, fourth, and fifth ribs. So you can see with Mr. Manny here, it comes down a little legs or whatever, and it's attaching to the top of the rib cage. So it impacts the ribs. Two big parts of the body that are pretty important: the shoulders and the rib cage. So this little tiny muscle can do a lot of problems. Okay, it's a great muscle, it can cause some problems. So again, it's on both sides of the aisle here. What is the function of this muscle? What does this muscle do for us? Well, when we're talking about the shoulder blade, it's bringing the shoulders forward, inward, and downward. So it's bringing our shoulders forward, inward to the center, and downward. All right. So it keeps us in fairly good posture when it's working correctly. All right. And it just gives us this wonderful ability to move our shoulders around, which I think is fantastic. Okay. And it's attaching to the rib cage. So it's going to assist in our breathing and our respiration. So it's a respiratory assisting muscle. It helps out with respiration, getting the rib cage to lift up. So again, shoulders and ribs. All right, so that's what the muscle does for us. How do we find it on ourselves? Well, it's going to be a little difficult to actually feel this particular muscle because it's underneath pectoralis major. But if you take your hand and you place it almost as if you were giving a Pledge of Allegiance, right? You've got your hand up here, it's probably a little bit high, but you're just coming off the roundness of your shoulder, and you sort of feel this drop down into almost like a hole or divot, right? That's where that part of the shoulder blade is sticking out. It's right in here, and this is where this muscle attaches at. If you push on this just a little bit, it probably will be a bit tender. It is on most people. So that's the starting of this muscle, and then run down toward the nipple of your chest, moving in this direction, right? There we go. And that's basically the location of the muscle. So it's sort of running downward toward the inside. Okay. So that's the location of it. That's how you find it. So I want to point out one other thing that we're going to talk about here in a minute, but I want to point it out, and this is that orange line right in here. That is the arteries, veins, and nerves that are coming from the back of the neck, off the spinal cord, to work we call it innervate the arm. So these nerves, these arteries, and these veins are coming down here, going underneath pectoralis minor, and coming down and helping us to have mobility and blood flow in the arms. So these are very, very important that they are healthy. But you notice that it goes underneath pectoralis minor. And if this muscle is tight, this is one of the problems that we can have with it, is it impacts the nerves, the arteries, and the veins. So let's talk about some of the issues that we can deal with. So since we're talking about that, let's go ahead and just hit that one right off the bat. So when that gets compromised or entrapped, entrapped is a better word that we use, it entraps that nerve, those arteries and those veins, it can create tingling, numbing, and some other issues down the arm, weakness, and that can become a problem if it becomes chronic, because that really is going to impact the use of this arm and can develop into some other serious issues. So we want to that's one of the reasons why we want to make sure this muscle is healthy, so it's not going to impact that nerve, artery, and veins. Okay, so that's one of the things that can happen. When we talked about the function of the muscle, right, it brings the shoulders forward, it brings them inward, and it brings them down. Well, if this muscle is tight, that's what it's trying to do to your shoulder. It's trying to keep it in this position. So it makes it difficult for us to be in good posture. So it forces us to stay in this position, and that this is a horrifyingly bad position for our shoulders to be in, and it's going to impact the spine of the back, and then obviously the neck will probably come forward as the shoulder blades come forward. So if this is a common place for you to be when you're under stress and you're working and you're doing this muscle is going to be shortened, and it's going to make it very difficult for you to get back into good posture. So let's take a moment here and explain what good posture is, right? We want to try to keep our ears in line with our shoulder, in line with our hip. So if I stand up and you see my hip bone right here, bring that down a little bit here. It's a hip bone right here. So I'm going to try to keep my shoulder in line with this hip bone, with this ear when I sit. So you'll notice that that is all in alignment when I'm sitting and I'm doing work. This is not in alignment, all right? Or that's not in alignment. You can see my ears are forward, my shoulders are forward. That puts a lot of stress on my back. So this is good posture. So if this muscle is healthy and flexible, you're going to be able to do this. If it's not, you're going to have some difficulty. All right. So that's good posture to be in. And this muscle is, we want to make it healthy so we can be in that good health posture. Now, when muscles get tight, they can develop what we call hyper-irritated points or trigger points. And pretty much every muscle has the potential to develop trigger points. And this muscle is no exception. This muscle, pectoralis minor, even though it is not a very big muscle, can develop two. So we can have two trigger points. And what's interesting here is that these two trigger points tend to create the same type of pain pattern. So you'll see with Mr. Manny here, he's got this sort of purplish spot here. This is the pain patterns that these trigger points can create, all right? And this pain pattern can occupy the whole chest area. It tends to dominate right here in the upper part of the arm, the front upper part of the shoulder blade, right there. That tends to be its hot spot, but that doesn't mean it can't be anywhere else in the chest, all right? So we have pain that can radiate here, and I'm going to move Mr. Manny here because there's another area. Again, you'll notice that it kind of mimics this idea of a heart attack, because if I bring Mr. Manny's arm up here, you'll notice, hopefully I won't lose his arm, that he's got a pain pattern, or you see it colored here on the inside of the arm. So basically right in here, the elbow, down the inside of the forearm, down into the hand. Let's see if we can bring his hand back up in here. So it's taking the sort of the pinky side of the palm of the hand and the last three fingers. So right in here. Okay, so the pointer finger, the middle finger, the ring finger, and the pinky finger. All of this, the inside of the forearm, elbow, up in here, and then we have that pain in the elbow, the top of the shoulder, and then the chest itself. So again, that's why they say it can mimic the heart attack, because you get this pain kind of going down that arm and into the hand. So again, if you're having that kind of a pain, just have your heart checked out first. That's the priority, right? Get a clean bill of health. Then you can start checking in to see if there's other, that this muscle might be involved. All right, so what do we do to fix this, right? Well, part of it is stop doing the okay, first of all, posture. You really got to work on your posture. I always tell people to set a timer that goes off every 15 minutes so that when you're working, you automatically go back into good posture. So you can get Mr. Manning out of the way here. There we go. So when you're working, you focus on your work. The timer goes off, you get yourself back in good posture. You have to sort of have some kind of a reminding system to get you back in good posture every 15, 20 minutes, because you can't do it without it. You're going to be in bad posture for 2 to 3, 4 hours, and then things start to hurt. Then you try to get in good posture, right? So correct your posture. That's primary. That's very important. Don't do anything that aggravates it. Such as some of the examples they gave here was gardening, woodworking, anything that's you're using your body for. You might want to stop that until you've calmed it down. If it isn't, then I would just go in and have a therapist, whether it's a physical therapist or a rehabilitative medical massage therapist, can get in here and work the whole shoulder and get that loosened up, including pectoralis minor. That would probably be if you're having that kind of problem, that would be what I would suggest. And then some of the stretches that you can do, and I'll show you them here, are what we call doorway stretches. I'll do it in the corner here. All right. So a doorway stretch is to take your hands and put them on either side of an open door, right? The door frame. And you want to put your hand about head height and put it against that door frame, and then lean forward and stretch your chest out. Then you want to do that 2 to 3 times. You want to do it gently. It should be pain-free, and you should just lean into it. Hold it for the count of 5 to 6. Come back up and do that 4 or 5 times. And then bring the arms up above the head. Stretch again, and then you can bring the arms down low and do 2 or 3 of those. Okay, so 2 or 3 down below the head, at head level, and then above head level. And it's going to open up the chest as you stretch, and that will help loosen up that muscle. Again, if you just can't seem to get that whole thing to release, then I would look at some type of physical or massage therapist to work on those muscles. Okay, so if you would like to check out more about our online course, our foam rolling and self-care tools, how to use them from basic all the way up to advanced, we have adaptive, we have the regular techniques, and we have those techniques that the people aren't quite ready to do those. We have an option B. So we have made this self-care program available to as many people as possible. We're going to walk you all the way through, and we also do the muscle education. So if you want to check that out, the link will be in the comments below. And I wish you a great day. Take care.